All right, everyone. So we're going to go ahead and take care of our 1-point perspective pictures. Again, we are figuring out where our horizon line, vanishing point or points, orthogonal lines, and vertical lines are. We're going to label them all. We're going to do it together. So go ahead and grab your straight edge and grab a pen or a pencil. All right. I'm going to do mine in a couple different colors just so you can kind of see and identify what is what. So the first thing we're looking for is orthogonal lines. And orthogonal lines are kind of a dead giveaway when you are looking at a picture that's that is portrayed in 1-point perspective. And often perspective in photographs is slightly different than perspective in everything else, photograph-wise. But eyesight works the same, and I guarantee you once we start working on this, you're going to start picking out orthogonal lines in your sleep. So we defined orthogonal lines as lines that in real life are parallel, but in the photograph or due to our vision, look like they converge in the distance. So just looking at this, we know that these two railings on either side of the steps are parallel in real life. However, we see, if we put a finger over it, if we extend these lines to the back, they're going to meet somewhere, and they're going to meet somewhere over here. All right, so from looking at this, I can identify that these are orthogonal lines. So what we're going to do is take our ruler. Pink sounds good to me. And I am going to go ahead and outline these orthogonal lines. So I'm going to start with my railings. I'm going to line up my ruler straight as I can. And I'm just going to draw over them, just to highlight them. There you go, just like that. I extended a little bit beyond because I want to see where they cross, because that's going to be where we find our vanishing point later on. But again, so I'm just going to highlight over here. You can do it with a pen or a pencil. I'm doing it with a highlighter. And take my highlighter and extend that line all the way back. And sure enough, what we thought was true is these lines do converge at a single point, and that point is actually going to become our vanishing point. Before we do that, we want to get a few more lines just to make sure we're accurate. Just from looking at this, I would say we know that these stairs are not getting smaller and smaller as you get closer to the top of this stairway, right? However, it looks like these lines would be parallel in real life, but right now they're not parallel. They're converging, just like our railing. So we're going to go ahead and do those, and you can kind of probably be able to identify these lines now that you know what to look for. So again, just each side of the stairway. And I'm just going to go ahead and label those. So we're just outlining right now. We'll label in a second. But what's interesting is all of these lines are converging in one particular place. How weird is that? All right, so before we get to that, first thing we need to do is label. So I'll grab a pen. And this is what we're, so out here, I'll in pink so you know what's what. Orthogonal lines, they're in pink. I'll lighten this up so you can see better. Nope, wrong way. You can't really see better. Whatever, I'll keep it there. So over here, I'm just going to go ahead and write orthogonal. Same thing down here. And last but not least, our fourth orthogonal line. Oh. So there we go. Everything's labeled. We know that our pink lines are orthogonal lines. Very good. So that's where we're going to start. Then we're going to move to vanishing points. We're not necessarily going in order. I'm not sure why these were kind of put this way, but next step we want to do is find this vanishing point. We're going to do that in red. All right, so Looking for a vanishing point. Just reading our last page, going backwards. Just read the definition of a vanishing point. Okay, vanishing point. In perspective, the lines of an object extend and meet at the vanishing point, which is on the horizon line. So that tells us a few things. So just by reading the, excuse me, by reading the definition, I've kind of figured out that these lines, once extended into the background, are going to all meet at one specific point, and that's going to be a vanishing point. Okay, just a red dot right there, vanishing point. Boom. I'm going to draw a little arrow. I'm a horrible speller, so I always have to check. There you go. Vanishing point right there, because it connects everything together. All these orthogonal lines are all extending back to one particular point. It's right there. All right. Next on the list, we're just going to go backwards. Horizon line. Okay, so we noticed from the explanation I just read, again, vanishing point. In perspective, the lines of an object extend to and meet at the vanishing point, which is on the horizon line. And we know that a horizon line is perfectly horizontal. If we didn't before, we do now. So that's going to be the next thing that we draw here. So I'm going to take green. Why not? And I'm going to find my vanishing point, and I'm going to put a horizontal line directly through that vanishing point. We really want to be careful when we're drawing this line to make it perfectly horizontal. So I'm going to take a very careful look at the edge of my ruler. I'm going to compare it to the edge of my photograph, the edge of the paper really, and just make sure that it's perfectly horizontal. Once I have carefully checked my ruler, I'm going to go ahead and draw a horizon line. So a horizon line comes straight across. I'm going to extend it a little bit out so we can, oops, I'll ignore that. There you go. Horizon line, straight across, or as straight as you can make it. Once we have it written, we're going to go ahead, well here I can highlight it. Horizon line, done. And now we can label it. Horizon line, boom. All right, remember that's right at eye level, and it's where the sky meets the ground, or at least it would be if we could see that. Right? There's obstructions in the way. There's a hill in the background, so we cannot see where the actual horizon is. But we know, based on the vanishing point, that the horizon line is going to be placed right there. Okay, so good example. Last but not least, we're going to map out some vertical lines, and that's going to be the last thing we have to do. So we're going to check this out, look at this image, and kind of try to figure out where some of these vertical lines might be. Remember, horizontal lines, like the horizon line, are going straight across. Vertical lines are always going to be straight up and down. So we're just going to look through this photograph and see if we see any. And yes, sure enough, we have a bunch of posts over here on either side that are all vertical. So I'm going to go ahead and map those out using my ruler. Now they're a little bit off. As you can see, my ruler is not totally straight, even though it's lined up with the posts, right? But we know in real life that those are going to be vertical almost completely. So we'll just chalk that up to the lens of the camera being curved. So we're just going to go through and trace over all of these vertical lines. And what I'm noticing as I trace these is they're getting shorter and shorter and smaller as they go further back, right? And we know that's a thing. These lines, these posts are getting tinier and tinier and closer together as they go further back in space. Look at that. The first one's huge, right? It's almost the whole length of the paper. It goes off the photograph. The last one is like smaller than my fingernail, right? So there you go. So you can go ahead, put a little arrow there and label some vertical lines. We're going to do the same with the other side. Large, just a little bit smaller, even smaller, right? And just getting continually smaller as we go back in space. Label those as well. Vertical lines. I guess we can highlight vertical lines. So again, yours does not have to look like this. I got like crazy colors going on here. It just helps me to kind of separate what is what. I may use this technique in the future, but for now, yes, I just want you to see kind of how we're supposed to label this photograph.